Live from downtown Detroit, Local 4 News First at 4 starts now.
Good afternoon, I'm Karen Drew. First at 4, Detroit's police chief announces an arrest in a deadly carjacking that stunned Metro Detroit. The victim, Tracy Golden, was a respiratory therapist, a wife, a mother, shot to death outside of a liquor store near her home.
One deserves something this terrible to happen to them. And when you see someone like her, she represents all of us. Innocence, just stopping at a store in our neighborhoods.
The chief was surrounded today by a huge team, he says, worked tirelessly to solve this case. And he was also joined by Tracy's husband. Kimberly Gill has his reaction and more on the arrest. Kim?
Hi, Karen. Yes, good afternoon to you. That shooting death of Tracy Golden felt like a punch in the gut for many of us in Metro Detroit. It came just 3 days after Christmas, and today police revealed an arrest and a long list of charges against a suspect who's just 19 years old. The chief shared the mugshot of Bradley Doss Thurman. Police say he's the guy who shot Golden, took her keys and other valuables, and then drove away in her Dodge SUV. You may remember the crime happened outside a liquor store on Grand River Avenue near West Outer Drive. Golden was there to buy some juice when she was accosted and shot in the chest. Her SUV was found after an armed robbery at a Family Dollar the next day. Police determined the robbery suspect was the same person who shot Golden. Thurman was arrested January 13th and is being held in the Wayne County Jail. Golden's husband is grateful for the arrest, but spoke of a pain that he says will never go away.
Like the chief said, it ain't over. It's not over. And I will never have closure because my angel is not here. Never.
Folks that are using weapons in our community, folks that victimize our community will be relentlessly pursued. Every footprint you make, whether it be a social footprint, social media, or a real footprint, we are going to look at. We are going to connect.
Now, Thurman faces several charges, including first-degree murder, felony murder, and others. He's being held on a $4 million bond. Chief White says Thurman is speaking with investigators, and they believe the crime was spur of the moment and Golden was not specifically targeted. Our Sean Lay was at the news conference, and he'll have more details on the investigation when you join us for Local 4 News at 5. For now, Karen, we'll send it back to you.
All right, we appreciate it. Thank you, Kim. Local 4 has learned of a shocking update in the case of missing Detroit teen Zion Foster. She went missing last winter. Her cousin told police Zion suddenly died when they were together. He panicked and then dumped her body in a dumpster. That man, Jalen Brazier, was sentenced by a Macomb County judge to 23 months in prison for lying to police. Today, Brazier was released. We learned he completed an alternative sentencing program and his sentence was dramatically cut. Zion's mother tells Local 4 she was never told by the judge this was happening. Sean Lay is digging into details and is speaking with Zion's mom at Local 4 on Local 4 News at 5. Michigan State Police have arrested a Detroit man after a bizarre call for help from I-94 near Woodward. They say the 30-year-old man and passenger were traveling westbound on 94 when they ran out of gas. Well, the woman called a courtesy patrol but didn't get a response. Police say the man then called for help, claiming someone had fired 150 shots into his vehicle with an AK-47. Well, police raced to the scene to find the vehicle had not been hit, and the claim was made just to get a quick response. Well, the driver was arrested for DUI and had fugitive warrants as well. He is in the Detroit Detention Center this afternoon. All right, it's time to check on the first forecast. Some of you could be seeing some light showers. Our exact track 40 radar will show us exactly where that rain might be hanging out. Kim Adams standing by with the very latest. Hi, Kim.
Hi, Karen. Well, we do have light rain, but it's all rain because temperatures are well above freezing in the low to mid 40s. But we'll zoom in here on exact track 40 radar. Macomb County getting most of the rain right now from Richmond to New Haven, Chesterfield, Mount Clemens, Sterling Heights and Utica. Also Macomb and Romeo getting showers. And then as we head farther to the west, you can see Rochester Hills a few showers, also in Troy, Birmingham, Berkeley, and in Ferndale. As we go through the next several hours, most of this will just wind down and will become mostly cloudy overnight tonight. Temperatures hold in the low 40s all the way through 10 o'clock. Keep in mind our normal high should be 32, so we are very, very mild. Now we are tracking a system that is going to come in tomorrow night and Thursday, and it's looking like maybe a wintry mix overnight tomorrow night. I'm going to talk about that coming up in the forecast.
We don't hear much about wintry mixes lately. Thanks, Kim. All right, Michigan Secretary of State says you can't have democracy without protecting the people who run our elections. That's why Jocelyn Benson is pushing for new action after she says election workers have faced a growing wave of threats. She wants legislation that explicitly prohibits and increases the penalties for threatening or harassing any election worker. She'd also like to see a law against anyone who deliberately misleads voters about their rights, the petitions they may sign, or the security of their vote. Benson says she thinks there's legal support for that kind of protection.
Much like we have consumer protections to ensure that people can't be lied to about the things that they eat and they drink, we can also intentionally can't be lied to. We can also take some of the same jurisprudence around false advertising and apply it here to the issue of falsely, intentionally and knowingly trying to deceive someone about their ability to cast a ballot and vote.
Benson says she'll also push the legislature to provide more funding for clerks so they have the resources to offer proper security during elections and guarantee voters have access to the ballot box. Well, there is a new move in Macomb County to streamline how it cares for the homeless. For years, the county used a rotating shelter system utilizing churches or volunteers who open their hearts and their doors for a week or so. Well, today, Paula Tubman is live in Warren to show us how one central location is expanding some really critical services. Paula, tell us about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a great example of this is a small piece of the machinery and the logistics involved in helping the homeless. And the county's rotating shelter program has really been masterful in juggling. But every time a juggled plate is in the air, fighting through who, what, when, the people, the families can get lost through those cracks. But these new partners are now jumping in.
It's a new family there, a family of 5.
Motor City Mitten Mission is headquartered in St. Clair Shores, but these folks are everywhere.
Kyla is 7, Velvet 7,
Nia.
and Nia's 3.
Looking for, counting, and keeping track of homeless families and individuals.
We take out anywhere between 100 and 150 meals every day.
So they can get them food, get them help, and get them shelter.
I met a lady yesterday who came out and said that she would need some help, that her and her husband both got laid off during COVID and never rebounded. And they have a 7-month-old, a 1-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 10-year-old.
Greg and Tamir have been homeless before. They know what it looks like and feels like, especially with fluctuating daytime temperatures that plunge at night.
Let them know that they're still people, that they're not just lost by us.
With this new partnership with Motor City Mitten Mission and Trinity Lutheran Church in Warren, there is more permanency.
We have rooms set aside for men, rooms set aside for women. And the separate heating allows us to keep the temperature as well. I mean, you can feel it right now. It's pretty warm in here. The defunct elementary school is now a shelter that will ride out the rest of the winter. My first and primary goal here in this is just that people don't freeze.
Having to literally repack up all of the supplies, all of the cots. I mean, we're moving, over 100 cots and over probably 500 to 600 blankets and linens and all of our food supplies and all of our equipment.
By not having to rotate to different locations, services are now being consolidated. And when services are consolidated, there are fewer places for people to slip through the cracks.
Number of people we get in early part of the month was closer to the low 40s. As we've been getting into the real bitter chill the last few days, and the latter portion of the month gets closer to the 60s to the 80s.
One of the things that I'm hoping that this shelter will do is to help connect resources with other organizations and other shelters so that we can better assist people that are in the shelters here.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the money, because some of the budget does come from Macomb County and its community action program, but also the kindness of donations, Karen. These are nonprofits, but there's also a hope that the churches who were amping up for those rotations, now that they don't have to, might be able to help with some of the resources for a day program, for instance, mental health services and more employment services. Because, Karen, the bottom line is, but for this kind of program, there are families out there sleeping in tents and under overpasses and in their cars. And that's just the reality of it.
It really is the reality. The teaming up, the communication, the agencies working together, that is the key. We appreciate it. Thank you, Paula.